Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Josh and this is your stimulus check update for the next stimulus package for Friday, September 25th. I hope everyone is off to a good and safe start to the Friday so far and that you all have a wonderful weekend ahead. In this video I'll be discussing both the first and second stimulus check. I'll also be discussing unemployment, the prospects of Pelosi and Mnuchin reaching an agreement anytime soon, and then I'll be wrapping up this video by answering some of the comments and questions that I received in my previous video. But first, if you wouldn't mind real quickly liking this video, give me a big thumbs up. It really just helps with the YouTube algorithm in terms of pushing this video out to other viewers like you, and hopefully helping other people like you as well. Okay, so I'm going to kick off today's video once again with just another update on the federal unemployment insurance benefits. Jumping right into it today. Up on the screen, you'll see the list of the states that have already started sending out benefits to their residents. Unfortunately, many of these states have already completely depleted their benefits at this point in time and will only be sending out regular state unemployment benefits from here on out. As of Wednesday, FEMA only had around $3 billion remaining out of the $44 billion approved for extra unemployment benefits. This is why it's so important for Congress to finally get their act together and extend these federal unemployment benefits on a longer term basis. Next, up on the screen, you'll see the list of states that have been approved for the $300 federal plus up, but haven't started sending out benefits to their residents yet. Again, it's pretty unbelievable that some states have already completed their benefits, while other states still haven't even started sending them out yet. If you live in one of these states, I'm truly sorry. Let's hope that it's not too much longer before they begin sending out these benefits to their residents. Okay, moving right along to some updates on the next relief package and the second stimulus check. Federal Reserve Chairman Jay Powell was asked what the risk was of not passing another stimulus bill, to which he responded, "We'll see sooner or later, probably sooner, that the economy has a harder time sustaining the growth that we've seen. That's the risk." So it's pretty evident to Powell and most others that additional stimulus is needed to keep moving forward in the right direction. The good news, at least, is that Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi have agreed to revive negotiations over the next relief bill. Mnuchin said that he's probably spoken to Speaker Pelosi 15 or 20 times in the last few days on the new CR, and that they've agreed to continue to have discussions about the next relief package. Even Nancy Pelosi was enthusiastic that she expected the negotiations with the White House to resume shortly, saying that we'll hopefully soon be back to the table with them. Of course, words are one thing, actions on those words and passing another relief package is another. We've been down this path before where the two sides have agreed to meet, they met, and nothing ever got done. Pelosi held firm at her $2.2 trillion number, and Mnuchin held firm at his $1.3 trillion number. Now, Donald Trump has recently mentioned that he would actually be willing to spend up to $1.5 trillion, so it's possible that Mnuchin may increase his offer a little bit more in the upcoming negotiations. Trump mentioned this when asked about the Problem Solvers Caucus $1.5 trillion proposal, to which he said he agreed with a lot. However, if Steven Mnuchin does increase his offer, will Nancy Pelosi come down even more from hers? It's hard saying, really. One thing we also have to consider is that even if Mnuchin and Pelosi do reach an agreement, it may still be difficult to get enough Republicans in the Senate to vote yes on the bill. Currently, the Republicans have the majority in the Senate, so Mitch McConnell will have to get just enough of them on board to get the majority of the votes. This could be a difficult task, as McConnell said previously that there were at least 20 Republicans in the Senate who are opposed to more stimulus, and most of them would only be open to spending around $1 trillion more at maximum. Obviously, it could be a tough feat for McConnell to convince enough of them to vote yes on a bill in the $1.5 trillion range. And if the next bill comes in at $2 trillion, then it would seem even more unlikely. However, as South Dakota Senator John Thune said, if any bill does pass the Senate, it will most likely be made up of mostly Democrat votes. It won't be necessary for McConnell to get all 53 Republicans on board for the next relief package, but he will need at least a handful of them to vote yes in order for any bill to pass the Senate. As far as that goes, we'll just have to wait and see, but first, Pelosi and Mnuchin will have to come to some sort of an agreement regardless. I will say that since they were able to reach an agreement on the new CR, that at least now we know they're able to come to a compromise on something. Is it possible they'll now be able to come to a compromise on the next relief bill as well? Time will only tell, but we have to keep hoping for the best. Recently, the Wall Street Bank even slashed its fourth quarter U.S. gross domestic product growth forecast in half down to just 3% on an annualized basis because of the failed compromise between the two sides. Goldman Sachs economists recently wrote a note to their clients saying that at this point, we think it is clear that Congress will not pass additional stimulus this month. We now think any further stimulus will wait until early 2021. Also, according to Goldman Sachs, failure to get a stimulus deal will definitely cause a meaningful hit to disposable income in the fourth quarter, causing it to drop to pre-pandemic levels. And that, in turn, will pressure consumer spending. Over the past few months, like many on Wall Street, it was sort of assumed that another $1 trillion of stimulus was coming to help boost the recovery, but lawmakers sort of torched a hole into those plans by being unable to compromise. Recent political matters haven't exactly helped their case either. If this wasn't an election year, for example, one could argue that the two sides may be able to come to an agreement much easier. We wouldn't be seeing both sides trying to make the other look like the bad guy, rather than simply coming together like grown adults and finding compromise. It's also looking like matters could possibly only get worse over the next few weeks, as President Trump and Republicans look to appoint a new Supreme Court justice, to which Democrats obviously want them to wait until after the election to do so. If Trump and Senate Republicans go against their wishes and appoint a new justice, more than likely, Pelosi and Democrats will be even less willing to lower their offer in the next relief package. It's hard seeing them do so, anyways. Also, Congress will be set to leave Washington as soon as next week after the Senate passes the new CR to keep the government funded through December 11th. This means they won't even be working on another relief package, and instead, they'll be hitting the campaign trails in hopes of being re-elected. Of course, they will still be on call and will be returning to Washington to vote on Trump's Supreme Court justice pick, and they would also be subject to come back if Pelosi and Mnuchin do come to any agreements on the next relief package. But again, it's hard to say how likely it is Pelosi and Mnuchin do come to such agreements unless you see a change of heart on either side. Like I said before, the two biggest hangups at this point are over state and local government aid and the federal unemployment benefits. Pelosi still wants around $1 trillion in aid for state and local government, in addition to $600 per week in federal unemployment benefits. Mnuchin has argued that we shouldn't be bailing out poorly run states and isn't willing to give anything close to Pelosi's $1 trillion figure, and he is also looking to only extend the federal unemployment benefits at around $300 per week. So something has to give here. Mnuchin has been saying over and over that he'd like to pass some aid now, evaluate the situation, and then pass more aid later if needed. Nancy Pelosi, on the other hand, has had the exact opposite approach of passing all the aid now or nothing at all. With both sides playing hardball, something absolutely has to give. The two sides can't continue playing chicken like this forever with the lives of American families. I do believe that in the end, they will get something done, but at this point, it's more of a matter of when rather than if. In the meantime, all we can continue to do is to prepare for the worst, but hope for the best. Okay, so at this point in time, I'm just going to give a quick update on the first round of stimulus payments because unfortunately, there are still way too many people who haven't even received their first check yet. In fact, if Congress was actually on top of things and were able to pass another relief package by now, there would have been some people receiving their second stimulus check before some people even received their first one. Now, if you're still waiting for your first stimulus check, more than likely it's because you haven't filed a tax return within the last 2 years. If you haven't done so, then I would recommend that you fill out the non-filers tool by October 15th just to ensure that you receive your payment by the end of this year. Otherwise, you'll end up having to claim a $1,200 credit on the tax returns you file next year. Also, if you started receiving Social Security benefits this year and you haven't filled out the non-filers tool, then the IRS recently noted that you should receive your payment by direct deposit on November 4th. Now, if you usually receive your benefits by check in the mail, then the IRS will be mailing you a check on November 6th. However, if you did use the non-filers tool, then you should be receiving your stimulus payment at some point in the next month in October. For everyone else, if you're still waiting on your first stimulus payment, I would simply recommend that you continue to check the payment portal. That will be your #1 resource for seeing exactly when you should receive your payment, and I would also check in with family members just to make sure they didn't claim you as a dependent on one of their recent tax returns. Unfortunately, if you were claimed as a dependent, then you would not be eligible to receive a stimulus payment. Finally, if you'd like to contact the IRS over the phone in regards to your first stimulus check, you can still most definitely do so by calling them at 1-800-919-9835, and the only recommendation that I would have for you is to call just a little bit earlier in the day just to avoid those longer hold times. Okay, so at this point in time, I'm just going to answer some of the comments and questions that I received in my previous video, and if you have any other comments or questions for me, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below. I do try to answer as many of the comments and questions as I possibly can, but for those comments and questions I'm not able to respond to, I do try to pick some of the more popular ones to answer in the next video in video form. Okay, so without further ado, let me go ahead and jump into the first comment of today's video, which is from Jennifer. Jennifer says, "Hey Josh, I need to change my direct deposit info for the next stimulus check. How can I do that now?" Thank you so much for your question, Jennifer. And if you've already updated your direct deposit information for the first check, then the payment portal will not allow you to change it until the next round of checks are approved. Once the next round of checks are approved, you should be able to log back into the payment portal and update that information. However, right now, if you go back into the payment portal, it will just give you the information for the first round of payments. I would guess that you should have at least a week or so to update all of your information through the payment portal or whatever system they have in place for the next round, so you should have plenty of time to update that information. Okay, moving right along to the next question of today's video, which is from Joanne. Joanne says, "What happened to the retroactive pay from the $300 unemployment that was supposed to go back to August 1st, 2020? Thank you so much for your question, Joanne, and that has actually already started going out for most states. However, unfortunately, since most states are only receiving 4 to 6 weeks worth of payments, many states have already depleted their benefits. Additionally, since states are only receiving 4 to 6 weeks worth of payments, many of them will only be receiving payments for the month of August, even though they started receiving the payments in mid-September. So obviously, it's extremely important that Congress can get around to passing a bill in order to extend these benefits on a longer term, more stable basis. Alright, so on that note, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video. If you did enjoy the content in this video and you'd like to see more videos like it, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. It is completely free to do so, and it's a great support to me. Also, if you'd like to receive one free stock from Webull, valued all the way up to $1,600, please feel free to claim that free stock by clicking the link in the description box below. And until next time, I'll see you guys, and I hope you have a great day today.